Hello, good day and welcome to another edition of Reconcile Africa, where we have discussions that awaken us to the consciousness of our oneness while enlivening that spirit of solidarity that results in love and caring acts which uplift the global community of Africans and people of African descent. My name is Kwaku Appiah. Today on our show, we're going to be talking about the Ghanaian ethos and global African unity. And with me on the show today, we have somebody who has committed themselves to the service of the African diaspora in the state of Georgia in the US for the last 2 years, and who continues to play an active role in uniting and empowering Africans, Ghanaians, and people of African descent. He's in the person of Mr. Kwaku Appiah, former president of the Ghana Council of Georgia. Kwaku, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Kwaku.
All right. So we usually start Reconcile Africa with a question. Who are you? And why the heck would you say you're on Earth?
That's a deep one, Kwaku. I feel deep within me that there are things that I will have to do on Earth that is not just for me alone, but for my community and for not just Ghana, but for Africa as well. Mm-hmm. So I see myself as somebody that has been brought on earth. You know that we were all created by God, mm-hmm. With a purpose. Mm-hmm. But I see my purpose more as more community-based. Mm-hmm. And so I tend to focus my efforts towards community service and what I can do to help make Ghanaians and Africans better and stronger. And that has been my focus for quite a while.
I must say we have seen your work and your contributions to the African community, and not only the African community, but the community of people of African descent in Georgia. And we are honored to have you here.
Thank you. Right. Thank you, Kwame.
So further to the discussion, what does it mean to be Ghanaian? All right. I think that question encapsulates the Ghanaian ethos. What does it mean to be Ghanaian? It's also a question I believe the current president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, highlighted in the days preceding the 60th independence celebration.
What makes somebody a Ghanaian? Mm-hmm. Now, what I understood when I was growing up to be a Ghanaian, back in the day, it's a little different from what I see today. But I think that to be a Ghanaian and to be a true Ghanaian, you will have to have a lot of integrity. Mm-hmm. You would have to have a lot of standards, okay? Because when I was growing up, what I saw in our fathers was very disciplined lifestyles, okay? They go to work on time. They do what they're supposed to do at work. Bribery and corruption was not part of our culture. Mm-hmm. We spoke the truth. In certain cultures, you could tell the thieves when you go into the society by looking at how many fingers they had missing and hands that they have missing, right? And so we had this a level of standards in our lives, which today is lost. And so it's a very difficult question to answer today. But I would want to go back to the days when I thought were the best. Mm-hmm. That you could go anywhere, and when you say you're a Ghanaian, people respect you. Mm-hmm. But I think to be a Ghanaian and to be a true Ghanaian, you should reflect those standards, those qualities in your life.
Wow. Just purely powerful responses. And as you spoke, one thing which came to me, it was almost like even though you weren't using the same words, I could see the presentation of the spirit of the national anthem of Ghana. We assert that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked to the total liberation of the African continent. That is a pretty high standard, and we don't see that highlighted in too many African national anthems, right? Ghana's national anthem seems to be self-transcendent. And as would, one can say, the seal upon us, which starts our Pan-African vocation was encapsulated in those songs, the national anthem, and in the words of Kwame Nkrumah when he made that historic statement. Going back to our theme, the Ghanaian ethos and global African unity. So as president of the Ghana Council of Georgia, I know you have looked at and been successful in uniting the various tribes within the community. You've been successful in uniting across religious groups. Can you share a little bit, as much as you know, on the challenges which were encountered in that process of formation and how those lessons learned can be applied towards uniting the great African community in Georgia within a framework where we see each other as one, where we see more volume in the business we do amongst ourselves and all that. Can you share some of those lessons learned and how we could apply them, just from your experience?
Well, Kwabena, that is true. The Ghana Council started way before me. The concept of bringing everybody together started way before me. When I came in, we already had all these tribes coming into play, because at some point we were only one group in Georgia when it all started. Okay. It started with one organization, and with time there was a break. And so the Ashantis, the Gans, the Ewas, all these other groups formed their own associations and became independent. And today the Ghana Association is still in existence. At some point they realized, well, we have to come back together to do something. And that is when the council was born. So every organization brought together representation to form the Council of Georgia. All right. So when I came in, this was already the case. And so I just built on it. I assumed office with all these organizations, but I made it clear that even though we need to celebrate all these differences in our cultures and all that, we need to understand the common goal that we're all Ghanaians at the end of the day. And so the more I appreciate you as an Ewa, and the more I appreciate the Gans, and the more I appreciate Fantis, the more you appreciate Ghana, because we are all Ghana, okay? And so the divisions, and when we begin to look down on other groups, or we begin to sideline other groups, you begin to sideline Ghana. Of course, the break apart back in the day and the coming together and the systemic movement that we've had, I think has only strengthened us to realize that, look, we can't do it on our own. And so we should come together. And I even go further than that and say that, look, the African, and the problems that we have on the African continent, we cannot do it alone. Because guess what? Hundreds of years ago, we were split up. Some people were taken away from us. So all these people that are in the Caribbean, that are the African American community here, all have a role to play in the development of Africa. And so everywhere I go, within the African American community, within the Caribbean community, what my message has always been is this: look, until all of us reconverge back on the continent of Africa, we cannot achieve what we are supposed to, because we've lost certain pieces that have to come back together. So much as our tribes are celebrated and we understand that concept, we got to understand that the whole is more important. And the whole is not just those of us that were left in Africa, but the ones that were taken away into the diaspora. So I believe that those that just came from Africa into the diaspora, would have to serve as the bridge. Because we've met our own, we know our own back there. There has to be a connection. And so we have to be that connection. We have to be that pipeline that will channel the ones that we lost and the ones that we left together to begin
Powerful
to bring
concepts.
Africa up again.
Powerful concept, sir. And that is what African Diaspora Nation is about. And that's why we're honored to have you. The fact that you share that vision and mindset. And thanks for the work you do along those lines. Well, listeners, we have come to a break in this segment on the theme, the Ghanaian Ethos and Global African Unity. Don't leave. Join us right back in about a minute or so. Thanks for watching thus far. So welcome back to our discussion with Mr. Kwaku Appiah on the theme, the Ghanaian Ethos and Global African Unity. But now we're going to shift the conversation to the basic minimum, a complete breakdown. What is the net for the Ghanaian? What is the net for the African that we reconcile?
Well, Kwabena, it's interesting you ask that question because when you started, you asked me who I was, right? And so, who am I? Need to have a purpose. You have to have a purpose, right? And so we talk about economic empowerment. Okay. Now, on the night of Ghana's independence, Kwame Nkrumah made two very important statements. The first was that the independence of Ghana was meaningless unless it was linked with the total liberation of Africa. That was a very important statement that he made. Yes, we are free politically. And then he also made another statement. He said that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. Okay. Now that statement, to me, hasn't been realized yet. We've done quite a bit, and we ought to be proud of what we've been able to achieve so far. In spite of all the challenges and the problems that we've had, colonization and slavery and all these things together, I think we've come a long way. And so the economic empowerment is very important today. Now, what are we doing to make sure that that political freedom that we gain is transformed into economic empowerment? Is the golden question that we need to answer today. And so we believe that you cannot have any gains whilst I have it. And so it's got to be either me or you. That's the way we look at it, right? But that's not true. It's simply not true. There's a way that you can gain and the way that I will gain. That is why some people talk about win-win. There's actually something called win-win. We can all win. Yeah. And actually, if you study economics, right, 1 + 1 is not 2, it's 3. Okay, that's synergy. Okay, so we believe that when we come together, if you're producing 1 and I was producing 1, we can produce 3, not 2. And so at the end of the day, you get 1.5, I get 1.5. We don't get 1 each. All right, so we need to begin to understand our concept. And today, everything is easily quantified. You can easily quantify, crunch the numbers, and realize that yes, when we unite and come together, we can empower ourselves. When we are trustworthy, we can get ahead. When we are people of dignity, we could be trusted. We can grow better than just being deceitful, being corrupt, and all those things. Look, Africa has come a long way, but the things that have held us back are the things that we have not realized we are doing to ourselves. Corruption and all these things are holding us back. We need to be able to break away from that selfish tendencies and begin to think community again. There's a conference in Washington, D.C., where for the first time the State Department is hosting a business and trade development conference for just Ghanaians in the diaspora. Because they have again realized that we are missing out on a lot of stuff. You can talk about trade agreements in the US. There's a ton of them and people keep debating them, whether they're good for America, whether they're not. But at the end of the day, all these trade agreements with different parts of the world, all the trade agreements with Africa are woefully underutilized, woefully underutilized. And so you have one called AGOA. That's been in existence for years. And the statistics will baffle your mind that no attempt is being made to take advantage of that. Why? Okay? And so we are going to start learning, okay, the tools that we can use to gain economic empowerment. So what building blocks do I have to put in place so that the next generation can be better off than me? All right?
Wow. And that's why we have discussions like this, to provoke that level of consciousness and awareness, which results in better choices and decisions, which serve to uplift all of us. Thank you for that comment. Very enlightening. So we've identified, it sounds like an educational issue that we can all win. People need to, number one, understand that we can all win. It doesn't have to be a zero sum. What are the next steps? I mean, we have a non-profit organization, which I believe the Ghana Council is. Should we have an economic empowerment and development arm, which is more of a social enterprise model with maybe some education? How do we go forward from here?
Let me take you back to the link that I talked about. Okay, because when I was in Ghana, I grew up in Ghana. I finished college before I traveled. I had a different mindset. I wouldn't say different. I had one kind of mindset. Okay, and then I came here. When I got here, I developed another mindset in my first few years, to a time when we were against each other. And so as soon as you picked up your bag and you left the shores of Ghana, you were not an outsider, but you were perceived to be an outsider. And so when you went back and said anything, well, people look at you in a different way. All right. Now, some have begun to realize that there is some knowledge out there. And that is not to say there's not knowledge back home. No.
Absolutely not.
But what I'm saying is that we're talking about solving certain problems. And the leadership that we need in the diaspora and the leadership that we have in Ghana and Africa need to all be elevated to the same level of understanding. And then we as the connection can bridge that gap. And so we are constantly sensitizing people in the diaspora. Then you also begin to conscientize those of us that just got here that, look, we are the bridge and the connection. So we need to begin to prepare ourselves and educate ourselves. And then we need to sensitize the people back home.
Absolutely.
And begin to challenge them. Say, look, there could be a better Africa. Okay? It's all about mindset and transforming minds and making people understand what is it. What is the gain of owning $1 million mansion when everybody around you is in poverty? What really do you gain by that? What is the gain in affording $1 million car and driving it on tarred roads and potholes, going through potholes and all that? What is the meaning of all that? What is the meaning of having millions in the bank and there's no medicine in your hospital? What meaning is that? Okay? What meaning is it that you can have all the money in the world, but when you pass out, there's no ambulance on the way to pick you up? What does that mean to an African? Okay. So we begin all this and start talking to these people that may not understand that. It is important to have no money in your pocket and be assured of life when you pass out. That when I pass out today, there's somebody here to resuscitate me back to life. What does that mean to you? But until you get people to begin to appreciate that and say, okay, what price do I have to pay to get that? What do I have to give to get that? When we begin to understand that, there's got to be some sacrifices. Now we will begin to make a headway.
Wow. I mean, that was a pretty loaded segment. So, well. If you are a person of African descent listening to us, the message we're hearing from Mr. Kwaku Appiah is it's time to consider your African option. If you are African listening to us, we're saying that it's time to define the opportunities that are in Africa, that the issues of Africans are really issues of people of African descent, and the issues of people of African descent are also the issues of Africans. Powerful statements. Education, sensitization. You kept repeating those words, Mr. Kwaku, as you went ahead in your delivery and in your comments. That's what we're trying to do here on Reconcile Africa. And we would like to take it out of the studio to create those connections, whether it's business conferences, starting from students to entrepreneurs in the community and the like. Powerful. Charlie, that's it.
You are the man. You are the man.
I like that. To me, the point is these things translate into activities on the ground.
Here's one of the messages that we are taking to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
When we go, we want to launch a fund. And the goal is to raise $10 million.
I see. Great.
In the fund. The whole Ghanaian community in the U.S. To launch one fund. And we break it in $1,000 units. So when we started, somebody said $1 million. So 1,000 and 1,000 get $1 million. But in the fund world, $1 million is nothing. So we start to break the ice when we hit 10 million. And when you have this fund, the $10 million, then you begin to actually do some of the things that you're talking about, right? So we need to reach out to quite a number of people. We need to be able to go as far as possible and take this message there, because the success rate is not going to be 100%. And so if our success rate is maybe, let's say 50%, or maybe let's say 20%. So every 100 people you convert 20 people. So if you do 1,000, you get 200, and on and on. So the more you can reach, the more people. And I can guarantee that the more people that we have down there as foot soldiers, the better our chances of improving that 20% to 30%. Over our celebration, we had the privilege of meeting one of the sons of Ghana and the sons of Africa that came from Africa to United States, went back, very successful, went back, established businesses all over Ghana and Africa, and now is back in the U.S., participating in the U.S. economy, owning a bank in the U.S. today. Okay, so a Ghanaian has done that. Where are these people? We need to start hearing from them, their journey, and what took them there. What are the things that made it happen for them? I don't think it was very easy, Kwabena. And so we talked today about unrest in the world and the resources that a country like America has to, expend out there to maintain peace in the world. Well, you could cut that in maybe half if you were focusing on empowering people and understanding that when these people do well, there's peace in the world. Africa hasn't had a lot of unrest. That has exported itself. And so that is a good thing. But for how long will that continue? Okay, so my message to everybody else is, look, you have to make sure that this thing doesn't get out of hand. And if it does, we will all pay the price someday. Maybe not today, but someday. And so we need to nip it in the bud, and we need your help as well. So you stand with me, send this message to my own people and say yes. Then we begin to form coalitions even outside our own communities to make sure this thing succeeds. Because you're going to need help along the way, some way, somehow. What we are trying to do, some people have done it. My challenge to every African leader today is you need to look around you and the things that are around you and Are you proud of it? What can you do to improve it? And what legacy are you going to live when you are gone? And so my challenge to every African leader that is in power today is to take a step back and reflect on the things that you can do to improve the lives of your people. Because at the end of the day, you have a window and you are gone.
Yeah.
And so that opportunity that you have today is priceless. You might not have it tomorrow. And so a lot of people have done that. I've been there, done that, and they come back and said, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. Well, you have the opportunity today to make a difference for your people. And so a lot will ride on that. And those of us as the connection, we need to engage them. Okay? We need to engage them. And one of the things that I'm proud of as far as what the council has done is staying out of the politics, being nonpartisan, and engaging our leadership in the conversation. And so we need to push them. We need to challenge them. But when we have the numbers, we can do more. And so when the president of Ghana comes to Georgia, and the Ghanaians come out, and with one voice, we make a statement, it's strong. Than you and I just sitting with the president to talk about some of these things. And I think that we can influence them in a way. And so we talk about their leadership, and we want to encourage them that no matter where we are, we can begin to move that needle forward. And so that partnership is so important. Those that left, our connection, and those that are back. And all of these groups have leaders. So the leadership need to start talking and bringing along this conversation every day. Now, you can't stop talking, like I said. You got to keep talking and bring these minds to understand that there are next steps that needs to be taken. And we, as the leadership in this community, we need to begin to put these tools in place. So when people come, they're readily available material and processes and systems that they can hook up to, plug in, and begin to move forward.
Wow. Great point. So talking about organization, all right? We've learned that we cannot outsource the issues of our development to our political leaders. Our organization, as grassroots people, and corralling the numerical strength to be able to actually demand what we want as a people from our leaders is definitely the way forward. All right? You talked about the systems, workflow processes, the machinery, the vehicle which actually delivers this. And I couldn't agree with you more. So organization, being organized, joining your local association, building relationships, authentic relationships across the global African diaspora, people of African descent as and Africans, and having anchor projects, tangible success stories of things which have been accomplished through our union would help those who find it difficult to conceptualize a vision. Some people they want to feel it, they want to touch it. So anchor projects, we can take a certain part of Ghana, 1,000 acres, and the Ghana Council, in collaboration with the people of African descent in Georgia, can decide to build a city which employs, which does so many things. So anchor projects are so key and vital, even as I heard you talk. Mr. Kwaku Appiah, it has been an utmost pleasure talking to you. It has been an enlightening moment, and we know this won't stop at the level of conversation. We look forward to actual steps, organization-wise, which actually help to deliver on the vision. And thank you for the work you're doing for Africa. And we thank you in advance for what we know you're going to do to further this work.
Thank you so much, Kwabena. This is the time to shine as Africans. And if we miss this opportunity, this window of opportunity might never open for us again, where the people in the diaspora that left us and the connection and the opportunities are so ripe. So I'm thanking your audience for listening to us, and I'm encouraging them to get engaged in this process. Thank you so much, Kwabena.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Reconcile Africa, where we have discussions that awaken us to the consciousness of the reality of our oneness, while enlivening that spirit of solidarity that results in loving, caring acts which uplift us all. My name is Kwabena Boateng. I've been your host. Join us next week for our next episode. Bye-bye.